Vizahu velo yiro ponairekum. So we're talking about the bittul that through his galus, the revelation of the divine, of the Shekhinah, that brings about like that big flame, so that all the candles, all the neshamas become subjugated to that level of Shekhinah, to that level of light. And this is what the pasuk says: "The lo yeirou ponai rekom," that don't see when the people come, the shalosh regolim, they should not see Hashem's face, rekom. So we're talking about coming to see, k'derech shabo lir'os. Just like you came to see, you also came to be seeing, but there was something to see. What does it mean? What was there to see? There was a hisgalus, there was a revelation of the Shekhinah. Shehoyo riyo v'hisgalus pnimis. It was lo yiro ponai. There was a inner revelation of Re'iyas, to see the inner of Hashem. That was the hisgalus of the Shekhinah. Shehoyo riyo v'hisgalus pnimis. There was a revelation and a vision of the inner. That's the level of the Shekhinah that came down. Uksi ponai. It says ponai, my face. Hainu bechinas memalu kol almim v'sebev kol almim. That is both the level that fills and the level that surrounds the world. Memalu kol almim. Bechinas yichud kutsho. The word ponai is also in my face is also the plural of pnei elikim, as we'll see soon. The other part, loiro pnei Hashem, pnei in the plural, which is all the mamal kol almin, sev kol almin. The level of yichud kutsho b'richu shchinta, where there is a union between the sev and the mamal kol almin. And further, Shekol echad ve'echad miYisrael l'pum shurigalei, that each one and one of the Jewish people, according to their measure, they would receive that level of revelation according to their ability. So there was the general revelation of the Shekhinah in the Beis Hamikdash, and then each individual person, based on his own measure, they would get that level, both but also every individual would get when they went up for the Yom Tov, because everybody is obligated to go up and see in the 3 Yom Tovim. That's why it says Pnei Havai, the face of Hashem, in a plural, Loshon Rabim, in a plural. Because each person got the revelation according to their level, to their value, that they can handle. What is the main? Talking before, the level of bittul, the level of ishtachavo, the level of prostration, which is the level of the pnimius and the chitzonius, the level of this bittul. The main seeing was prostration. So we say that the person would bow and then he would leave. So it means that the bowing down was the main function of that re'iyah, of that vision that the person came to see, is the bowing down. It also needs to be the vision, but the main thing is the hishtachavo, is the bowing down. And from these three festivals, over there he would receive the level of prostration so that the entire year he will have that level of subjugation. From every Yom Tov and every festival, it extended the bittul until the Yom Tov that followed. After the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, Hagam she'ein onu yicholim leishtachavos, you don't have the ability to go ahead and bow. We say in the davening, ein onu yicholim leishtachavos, we can't bow down, prostrate. I'll call poning, but at least nispashto kedusha sa'ora zu, there was an expansion of this holiness of this ray. Efes kotzeyu, just a little bit of the edge, meaning a little drop. B'migdash ma'at beis hakneses beis hamedrash, in the miniature beis hamikdash, which is the shul and the study hall. Over there is the gilui. V'hainu, and that is b'shas hatfila, during the davening. She'oz ha'odom medabek es atzmei likoinei. Then a person connects himself to his master, to Hashem, who requires him to Hashem. Levatel es atzmei neged hamelech malka shel. He wishes to subjugate himself for the king of the world. Kol chad lepum shiura delay, each one according to their measure. What does it mean? Each one according to their measure. So yesh bichinas ritzon is mitzad ha'echrach. Sometimes there's an external bittul. You force yourself to be mevatel. Shemachriach es atzmei chulu. You force yourself. And he forces, he goes to shul. Ve'ein tfilos shel adam nishmas ela bebeis hakneses chulu. Where is a person's prayer listened to? Only when he goes to shul. So therefore, he pushes himself to go, even though that's not something internal. This is an external force. Shal Yidei, why is Dafki in the shul? Shal Yidei his pashtus hashros hashchina asher shom. Through the expansion, the Shechina rests in the shul. So when you have the expansion of that Hashra, that brings about, as he says in the end of the parenthesis, that brings about the level. Let's see what the parenthesis says. So basically, because there is the Shechina in the shul, so that's why later on it expands to give the person level of bittul. And for that reason, we say, that wherever there is 10 people, the Shechina rests. And we can say a matter of holiness only when there is 10. So what happens? Why do we need 10? Because you need the Shechina there. In order to say Kedusha for the Shechina, you have to have the Shechina there. When do you have the Shechina there? When there is 10 people, you can say Kedusha. Shayidei, Kibbutz Asoro, Shoydish Knesses Yisrael D'La'elo. Through gathering of 10. So then it rests the level of Knesses Yisrael of above. Shu B'chinas, Knesses, B'kibbutz, Anishomis, U'Mikodim. That is the gathering of all the neshamas and their sources. So you gather 10 people below for a minyan, so then you're also basically having the level of Knesset Yisrael gathered together to get the level of the Shechina. And that brings about later on, so that brings later on in the shul, brings the prostration and the subjugation like a flame like a candle in front of a flame, because then you have the Shekhinah there, that's the Avuka. Then you have the individual neighbors, the Knesset Yisrael, the gatherings, and they're becoming level of bit. This subjugation is specifically neshamas, meaning Malachim, they don't have this level of subjugation to be like the candle in front of the flame, to totally be mevatel. Why? They are actually connected as a single light in front of a flame. What happens is shenifrad mihar psilo. So the flame of the candle separates itself from the wick, and it is included in the big flame. Sharei hashchina hikneses Yisrael moker neshamas Yisrael, because the divine is Knesset Yisrael, which is the source of neshamas Yisrael. So you are part of it. So the Shekhinah is Knesset Yisrael, the source of Yisrael. Bonim atem, as we say, bonim atem laHashem elikechem. You are sons to Hashem, your God. And bro karada abuha, and a son is like the leg of the father. It's mamish, a part of the father. So we are part of the Shekhinah. And that's a level of subjugation which only the neshamas have, neshamas Yisrael, because they are actually a part. They are like the level of the bittul. They are part of the father, the leg of the father. She'enken hamalachim, as opposed to the malachim, heim bechinas nifrodim. They are separated. Charehein mislapshim bechinas kelim hamakbilim. Because they dress up, the malachim dress up in vessels that limit the kolshkin, k'sheyerdim lamato, for sure. When the malachim descend below, harahoyu hanefilim, then we know we have the story of the nefilim. Heim hanefilim, they fall down for the madrega, so they're not in the level. So that is something which is special only for the Yidden in that level of it. Gimel. In order for the Shekhinah, for the divine, to rest in the Beis Hamikdash, as the pasuk says, Hashem Omar Lishkein Chulu. When David HaMelech was building, it says Hashem said to rest in the Mishkan. Higdim David u'Shlomo inyan Chanukas Habayis. So David and Shlomo, they introduced, before bringing down the Shekhinah, this idea of Chanukas Habayis. The Chanukas Habayis was the introduction before bringing down the Shekhinah. Inyan Chanukah Zuhu. So what is the idea of this Chanukah? U'Meloshin Chinuch. That comes from the language of education. As we say, chanoich lenar, educate the child, apidarke. So that's the chinuch, is to educate apidarke. So what takes place? When you train, when you educate him to study, you don't just educate him, just study. This is something which is always studying. How do you educate? When you educate him, you add something, you make some additions. When you're starting to, you make something close, a closeness or a gift. When you're trying to educate the child and bringing him in, you try to do something extra. And likewise, when was the dedication, of the Beis Hamikdash, Mishkan Hoyo Dover Noisef Al Hatmidim Shnei Kisvios Kilchoson. You had something extra than the regular Timidim, in which you brought 2 sheep, as the law was all the time. So Mishkan Hisnadvu Hanisim Parben Bokor Chulu Zavachashlam Chulu. We have every Nasi brought for the dedication of the Mishkan. They brought the extra bull and etc. All these korbanos that were brought by the Nisim. That was by the Mishkan. But Beis Hamikdash was also, it says, Vayizbach Shloimo Me'eh Ve'asrim Elef. So what is this idea of the extra that you do for Chinuch? V'inyan v'hu inyan toisus eris al yonim sheyerdu begilu hashchina. That's the idea, is the additional supreme lights that go down when the Shechina is descending. Shaloi hashchina bilvad yordo. It's not just the Shechina itself that descends, alim toisus eris al yonim sheyordu ima, but with additional supreme lights that come down with the Shechina. V'ayin mizeh soiv dibur hamaschil zois chanukas hamizbeach u'v'dibur hamaschil. Okay, so these were all the introduction. So now he's going to bring out the idea, why did the Torah have to repeat by each one of these Nisim their exact gifts that they gave? Torah could have just said that this one gave and the other one did the same, the other one did the same, instead of specifying by each one of the Nisim the whole details of their specific gift. Rebbe is going to explain that this is because each Nasi has, and for the future, each Nasi has their own way. It's not just he did like the other one, but everybody has, they're not merely repetition, but they're unique for each one bringing his own way. Let's get inside. Hine, Parshas HaNisiim, Befurish B'Torah, Korban Shel Kol Nasi V'Nasi. Torah tells you the korban of each nasi. Is that korban nachshon? Is that korban nisanel? This is nachshon. This is korban ubikulon ksiv mahoyu korban noisov. And by each one it says exactly what the korbanos was. Im hagyoshu kulom hikrivu b'inyan echad. Although they all brought the same korbanos, the same exactly, it's duplicate. But it seems like he should have said keinoso. So he did keinoso nisanel chulu. Also, the next one, why do we need to duplicate 12 times the carbonas that were the same instead of saying the same for him? But the idea is this was written for generations to come, that we're going to need each one's separate korbanos. It was revealed and known before Hashem. So Osid Beis Hamikdash L'Chorav, that the Beis Hamikdash is going to be destroyed. And we're going to have to make up, instead of actually bringing the Purim, we're going to have to just say the words Shalma Forim Svaseinu. Mamer Azal, as our sages of blessed memory say, when you study the laws of Oila, you're actually like bringing an Oila. So we're going to need to read, and this is like we read the Moshel on Chanukah, and we do every day, we read a Sefer Nasi. Just like on Chanukah, we read the idea, we did the Korbanos of the Nesiim, Levishe B'Chanukah, is Gamkein Chanukah's Hamizbeach. Because on Chanukah, there was also the dedication of the Mizbeach. The Mizbeach was defiled. The non-Jews, they breached 13 breaches. And they had to sort of rededicate it. And when the government, the kingdom of the house of the Chashmonoim overpowered them and were victorious. They needed to dedication. They needed dedication. To return the kedusha to its old. They needed to change because Shabishas Pirsis at the time when the breaches of the Kechovim is talka, then it was removed, so we needed to bring it back. When we read in the Torah the portion that's how we bring down back the Shechina in the 13 different breaches that were breached, and each we bring an osi, we bring it down. As we know from when you read in the Torah, meaning you're bringing down the Shechina. Calling is bringing down Lochin. Nichbelu hakarbonis yudbeis pa'amim, v'chola yudbeis shvatim. That's why they repeated the 12 karbonis were repeated, duplicated 12 times for each of the 12 tribes. Lahamshich habitl kener b'fnei ha'avuka, because that is to draw down that subjugation that the light has in front of the flame. Sheyesh yudbeis avuka is keneged yudbeis shvatim. There are 12 flames corresponding to the 12 tribes. Shekol shevetu inyan avuka b'fnei atzma. Each tribe has its own avuka, and you need each tribe its own bittul, and that's why we have 12 times, because each tribe is its own avuka. Similar we find when the splitting of the Yamsuf. We also say Nikra Hayam the Yud Beis Gizorim. It was torn into 12 pieces. The Geyser Yamsuf, the Gizorim, there were 12 pieces. Each tribe went in through its own split of the Yamsuf, Yamsuf, because they Shekol Shevet B'Shevet B'Msilosei, so that each tribe and tribe in its path, Yikaben Kol Chad Lefurim Shuru Delay, each one should have the mind according to their measure, Kamesha Kosuv, B'Mokom Achar, like it's written elsewhere. It's the word is based by Aleph, right? B'Mokom Achar. Yeah? Yeah, okay. Ba'ayin Shom B'Rabbeis Parshas Nosei, Amru, the Parshas Amru, B'Korbanos HaNesim, Al Korban, Shall Kol. So over there, in the Medrash Rabbah, they say about the Korbanos HaNesim, they say Al Kol Korban Shall Kol Nosi, Inyan V'Korban B'Fnei Atzmei. They say each korban, it's an idea and a meaning and an intent by itself. So we see, even though they're duplicated, the words are duplicated, the same korban is the same thing, but yet it is a separate idea, as explained over there in Medrash Rabbah. Ein Shom Barich is good. Look at it. Now he's going to explain why does it say, what is the Mizmor Shir? So now we have the Chanukah Sabayis, we have we explained what is the idea of the Mizmor Shir. The Hine Pirush Mizmor Shir. It seems like a duplicate Lashon. Okay for Lashon. It's a duplicate Lashon. Mizmor means a song and Shir means a song. So it's a double Lashon. What is the idea? There's a difference. You can sing with an instrument and you can sing with your mouth. When you're singing with an instrument, you're singing with outside with a tool. That's a chitzonizikin thing. When you're singing from your heart with your mouth, that's called a more inner. Yesh hefresh ben mizmer l'shir. There's a difference between mizmer and shir. Shahazamer v'anigun shamizamer, when you sing and the song that you play with klei zemer, with instruments, whether it's a navel, v'chiner, with a harp, the navel, nikra hanigun hahu koil zimra. That is called a voice of a zimra. It's a voice of an instrument. Metzacho v'koil zimra yitzmenak lezemer. because that's this voice of the zimra that comes from a instrument, from a playing instrument. On the other hand, vishir, when we talk about shir, ubepeh, that's in the mouth. Hakoil hayoytze mehapeh, she'enei melubesh b'kli. That's the mouth that is not dressed up in a vessel. It is from the mouth, not through a vessel. That's a song that you sing with your mouth. And this is, why do we say mizmer shir both? So we have the mizmer is like through the song, that's like the malachim that thinks through a vessel, because there is a goof there, and the neshamas will have the shir, which is without a vessel. Pirush mizmer hushidas hamalachim ha'im dimru m'sholelam. That is the song of the malachim who stand in the height of the world. They are from the externality of the world. They have both. They have the material and the surah and the shape and the surah. They have a neshama and a guf. There's a light and a keli. Their song, which they sing, they praise and they beautify as Shem Kived Malchusi Yisbarach, the name of the glorious kingdom of Hashem Betoida V'Kol Zimra, with thanks and a voice of Zimra, of instrument Nikra Bechinas Mizmer. That is called Mizmer. Mitzad Shavu HaZemer HaMelubesh B'Hakeli Shehem Bechinas Chem V'Tzura. That is the song which is dressed up in a vessel, because there is the chomer and the tzura, there is the materialism and the shape, meaning you have the neshama sort of, and you have the body of the malach. And that's why by them you won't find a true bittul, which is likolel b'mekoirei, to be included in its source, kineir b'fnei ha'avuka, like a flame in front of the avuka. Why not? Shakelish lema'akev, because their vessel, their guf, their chomer prevents zois, and therefore gam habitl sholahem nirgash bekel v'ra'ash gadol. So also when there's subjugation, it's felt. There's a noise, there's a sound, and there's a big noise. Hakoil mesibes hakeli. It's all because there's a keli there, so it's not a pure bittul. Ubishir ubechinas ashir shel haneshamas shebegan Eden. And when we have the level of shir, that's the song of the neshamas in Gan Eden. Sheyotzim b'shir v'nimshachim b'shir. Brought down from the expression from the Gemara in Shabbos, that they too have the song over there. It's a song. It's without a keli, and that's the song of the neshamas in Gan Eden, who all their elevation, yotzim, nimshachim, they go up and down. They all go through shir, but by them is bebitlu ha'amiti. Over there you have a true level of subjugation. Over there it's kibitlu haneir. That is like the subjugation of the candle in front of the flame. Mitzad she'eino miluboshim b'chaymer v'kli hakanal, because they are not dressed up in the material in a vessel. There's just oides, there's no keli, there's just the neshama, there's no guf, there's no chaymer. That's why we call it in the level of shir, their song. That's mitzad she'eine belubesh b'keli, because it's not belubesh b'keli. Ki ein lohem kumris b'keli, because the neshamas don't have no materialism and no kelim, kinal, as mentioned before. Ayim hashikosuv al posik shir hashirim v'aposik u'balayla shir imi v'dibra maschil v'hi miketz ayim b'zer chelik aleph v'yitzei Ches Amid Beis B'inyan HaHefresh Ben Shir HaLeviyim the B'chinas V'chasidecha Yiranenu the Kohanim. Over there is Shir of Leviyim and Kohanim. That is Chazdecha Yiranenu of the Kohanim is a higher level than the level of the Shiluvim. Also understand the advantage of the level of Shir over the level of Mizbar. So there's a Shir and Chochma, so you see that Shir is in a higher level. In a Mikdash, Hoya Gilu Shchina Moker Haneshamas V'Malachim. In the Beis Hamikdash, there was the revelation of the Shechina, which is the source of the Shas Malachim. Meshikosu Malchus Cho Malchus Kol Eilomim. And Lekach Nemar. So we see that everything comes from the level of the Malchus. I'm not sure exactly how this Malchus Cho Malchus Kol Eilomim is a proof that the Gilu Shechina Mokar and Shavah Malach, basically because everything comes from there. It's trying to say, Side the Neshamas and Side the Malachim, they all come from the level of Malchus, and there is a source in which Mizmer and Shir come together, because you have the Mizmer and you have the Malachim, and then you have the Shir of the Neshamas. So they come together because when we talk about the revel in the Mishka, in the Mikdash, there was such a high level of Shekhinah, which was higher than the Malachim, the source of the Malachim and the Neshamas. All the words going back. That's why we say there both Mizmer Shir, that there was both. That both were revealed there. Bechinas HaMizmer Shel HaMalachim. There was the Mizmor of the Malachim Vashir Shel Neshamas. Mitzad Shemoker Kulam Hugilu Shechina Baruch Hu Shenizgale BeMikdash Kinal, because the source of them all, of the Malachim and the Neshama, is the revelation of the blessed Shechina that came in the Mikdash Kinal. So it was both. And this was also taken below, also worked a similar way. In the actual song of the Nizavim, it was two parts. Some of the Levim would sing with their mouth. Some of them would use an instrument. Like we find a disagreement in the Gemara, whether the main thing is the singing with the mouth or with the vessels. Look over there. Machakosu. Oh. So how come sometimes it says Mizmoir Shir? So first you have the Zimra of the Malachim and then the Shir of the Neshamas. But sometimes it also says Shir Mizmoir Livnei Koirach. Hainu. So over here we have first the Shir and then the Mizmor. B'yoisa Mizmor hu b'chitzonius. Mizmor is the external Hamalubash b'kli, because that's dressed in a vessel. Shir b'pnimis shebilti kli, and the Shir doesn't have a kli. L'kach shemitztarchim l'schaber yachad, when you need to connect the keli and the ped, you will need to connect them together. There's two possibilities. Either the upper one goes down low, or the lower one goes up to the top. And this is the difference between Shir Mizmer, Mizmer Shir. Mizmer Shir, when it says Mizmer Shir, Mizmer should become a Shir. We're elevating the Mizmer to be included in the Shir and connect in it. When we say Shir Mizmer, that is it works the other way around. When the upper one, the Shir Yered Lamato, the Schaber Elov, Shir Mizmer, the Shir comes down to the Mizmer. Over there it says my Shir Mizmer. What is that? It says Shir the Eu Kofel. It's a Shir which is double. Mizmer Shir Le'yom HaShabbos. Upirush b'mikdash melech shom b'shem Rabbi Chaim Wolosow. The Pirush Shir, the EU Kafel, what does it mean? Shir Midmar Double. And the Yichud Zo V'Nukla. That's the Yichud Zo V'Nukla. V'ayin Shom Sei Parsha Daf Ayin Tes Amad Beis Me'inya Mizmer Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. U'B'mikdash Melech Shom. And the Mikdash Melech explains the Hamizmer Shir Ukmeshikosu b'Mishnah Seif Tomid. It's like it says in the Mishnah at the end of Tomid, the Yom Shekulei Shabbos ve'elov Mizamrim B'chinas Mizmer Shir. And so I guess the Yeruzum Mizmer Shir is the Yom Shekulei Shabbos at level meaning for the future to come. Lost love when it says v'havin. Okay, it's not Meirich here. It explains similar to what he explains over there. So that's one idea in Mizmer Shir. We have the Mizmer to the Shir Mizmer. This is all the introduction before we have the Gilu Shechina of Chanukas Abayis bringing down the Mizmer Shir Chanukas Abayis. Further, we also have the idea Gam Mizmer Hu Loshen Zemer B'Yischalkus. Also Loshen of pruning and separating. Kameshikosuv don't prune your gashu Loshen period. What that means, it represents separation. B'Yischalkus Shel Hanigun. That when you break up the song into small pieces inside the instrument, hashir, as opposed to the shir is one not broken up, but that's like a whole. Likewise, the mile. It doesn't go into arichas. Is a mizmer level of ischalkus. So, what does it mean further? It says, Mizmer Shir Chanukas Abayis of David, Hashem Kidili Soni. It says Kidili Soni. What is Kidili Soni? Shatam, Cholzeh, Hu Yisrin, Umailus HaNeshomes Al HaMalochim. It all for this, of this Hamshocha, and the Chanukas HaMizbayach, and the battle, is because of the advantage and the mile of the Neshomes of the Malochim. Yisrael Hazeh, who nirmas, that Yisrael, that advantage is hinted by Milas, the word Dilisoni. Dilisoni, Sheyesh Bo Gimel Pirushim. There are three meanings in the world of Dilisoni. Aleph, number one, is Meloshin. Yisrael Muzvi Isnasas Bechinas Lemailo. It's a way of exaltness and raising. Hi Dilisoni, you raised me. The second pirush is Meloshin Dalus Vanius, comes from Meloshin of poor and lacking Dalus. Bagimel, and the third one Meloshin the Dolo. Meloshin, you have it's like with a bucket, you fill it up, you draw, you Loshin Shiva. That is a language of Shiva, of drawing. All three Prushim are true. V'heim Gimel Milas Kidilasona. V'heim Gimel Milas Sheyesh L'Neshama Malachim. Those are the three advantages that the Neshamas have over the Malachim. Aleph is Meloshin Yisrael Muzvi Snasus, is a level of exaltness and raising. Neshama Hi Rama Nesob Mekoira L'Mailo. The Neshama is exalted and raised in its source above. Shemi B'chinas Pinimis, that's the level of Pinimis. Mashenkin HaMalachim Chula, as opposed to the Malachim. Ulezois Yashtachavos HaNeshamas Ubitula B'Mekoira, and that's why the prostration of the Neshama and its subjugation in its source, over there is with more force, like the candle and flame in the face of the flame. As we said before, it's a real battle because the Neshama is comes from a higher source. Babes. And the second is Meloshin Dalus Vaniyus, the lotion of poor and Aniyus. The Hainu It doesn't have, not dressed up in a body in a kli hamagbil klal, that would limit it at all. It doesn't have any body to, not like the Malochim, we say Malochim Shorsov. Yeah, it said they have a spiritual body. Mashenka Malochim Sheslam Gufim. Shem Ruchas Veishloyet. Those are the body and the Eishloyet. Gimel, and the third is Meloshin Shiva, the fact that Loshin of drawing, Shanishomes, Nishavu Mkir Chaitzim Mchinas Chochma. They came from the level of Chochma. But Male Kado, it says she filled her Kado, that's a Kad min Yam HaChochma. That's a Kad from the Yam HaChochma, which is the Chov Dalet, representing the Chov Dalet Sifrei de Reisa, the 24th Sovarim de Reisa, which means Hainu Sheisadosu B'Harei Kodesh Chochmei Lo, that the basis, it comes from this holy mountain, which is Chochmei Lo, which is Mokar HaTorah, which is the source of the Torah. Sha'Torah Nishava Mishom. The Torah comes from the level of Chochmah, that is the Kad min Hayam. That's the Kad min of the Yam. Like it says, V'Torah Sambi Yisrael. Uksiv, and the pasuk says, Vezos lifnim b'Yisrael. So Vezos lifnim b'Yisrael. Torah Sambi Yisrael means Vezos lifnim b'Yisrael, and ve'ein Zois elo Torah. And Zois, when it says Zois, that is a reference to Torah. Shimushreshes b'Neshamas Yisrael v'Mekoyrim b'Bnei Yosef. That's rooted in the Neshamas Yisrael, in their sword, in their inner. That's why they deserve for the resting of the Shechina and to receive the Torah even more than Malachim. So these are all the three levels that are hinted in the level of Dilisonu, in the word Dilisonu, the Maila of the Neshamas Yisrael over the Malachim.